Hi everyone, I'm Albert Torcaso. This is Humanity Matters. We are doing something different today. Normally, I'm the host of Humanity Matters, producer, host, guy that brings it all together, right? Well, today, I'm still gonna be the host, but that will be on the back end of the show because today, Chris Weiss is gonna be hosting the show. And also, I wanna make it clear that I am only responsible for the content that I speak, as are everyone else. However, it is also important. We are going to have a political interview that will run in about 20 some minutes or so. And no one is endorsing this particular candidate. However, I think that you, the audience, are going to be very fascinated with this interview. And I think I did a so-so job with the interview. But that's going to be for you to judge. But in the meantime, I want to say hello to all my viewers. Hello to everybody I meet in real life. And hopefully we'll get some calls later on today. But we have a lot to do. So we're going to get out of here. And we're going to say welcome to our host for today, Mr. Chris Weiss.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to, before we get started, I want to thank, to let people know that I appreciate all the people that graduated, wherever it was, high school, college, wherever it was, the bachelors and their masters. So hopefully you're able to get a job in the field that you, and also stay in Pittsburgh. Also at my right is Kathy Papaleo. To my left is Paul O'Hanlon. And my so you can say hi, whatever you want to do.
Hi, everybody.
My first question is, being that this is Rights for All, is we're going to talk about stigma and discrimination. So one question I'm going to ask Paul is, do you believe that, is there a stigma in the workplace, and does it prevent people from moving up in the workplace?
Well, yeah, I think people, stigma sort of is a set of negative kind of stereotypes, and I think that people with disabilities, of all sorts of disabilities, experience certain stigmas that we kind of walk around with baggage that kind of falls under the name of stigma, and usually it's sort of negative stereotypes, things that people believe about people with disabilities, even if it isn't true.
And do you believe that the media discriminates against people with mental illness? For example, when they would commit a crime or any sort of type of whatever crime, they would end it by saying, oh, by the way, they have mental illness, but they do not say, oh, by the way, they have cancer or have diabetes. So do you believe that that's a form of discrimination?
I think that there's all kinds of stigma that you'll find in the media, whether it's in films or in the news. I think that part of the problem is that people in the media, again, deal a lot with stereotypes or, in films and so forth. I think that writers sometimes are lazy, and instead of kind of creating a rich, interesting character, they kind of use stereotypical, characters, and usually people with disabilities are presented in a very kind of simple-minded way of that mostly just sort of rebroadcast the stigma that's present in society. I mean, that's, stigma, I think, is alive in society, and it gets passed on, and one of the ways it gets passed on is through the media.
And do you believe that comedians make fun of people with mental illness when they're doing their routine or even sitcoms?
Well, I think that we own, so for example, one of the, things enter popular culture. Like, for example, right now, the thing that irks me that's, like I hear young people saying all the time is they're referred to somebody as a retard. Or in other cases, it's somebody is a kook or a crazy person. And I think that we use a lot of these kind of names that are really just based, in a stigma kind of based thing around disability. People don't usually understand disability. People don't, oftentimes just keep repeating things that they've heard. So I think that stigma keeps getting kind of recreated as we go along. I think, when you look at what a comedian is doing, I think a comedian tries to be funny sometimes by having you laugh at people. And so I think that people with disabilities sometimes are, it depends. I think that there are some people who, it's just not funny that you're kind of, drawing attention to somebody with a difference. But I think that, unfortunately, people with mental illness are often used as kind of the butt of humors or jokes, and it's just one of the ways that stigma gets recreated. And I think that we really need to look at in terms of how we bust stigma. But I do think that groups that are stigmatized need to look at how we can kind of reclaim our power, because part of what stigma does is it kind of robs the power away from a group of people and makes them seem kind of pitiful, and I think that one of the things we need to look at is how do we regain our power, how do we grab power back, and that's why, as you know, one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is people with disabilities voting, because we have numbers. We're one of the most numerous groups in our society, and we need to use what we have to our advantage, and one of the things we have is numbers. So that's why I think it's critical that people with disabilities start to vote. I think with voting comes power. I think with power, stigma starts to become kind of a thing of the past.
And it's interesting you mentioned about people with disabilities, about voting. And I read something a while back that people with disabilities is the biggest population that don't vote. Do you believe that's true or not?
Well, if you look at Pennsylvania, I'm a numbers guy, so I confess I look at things like the census numbers. We outnumber seniors 65 years of age and older. Voting age people with disabilities are a greater number of us than even seniors, and seniors are considered to be the biggest voting power group in Pennsylvania society, and the only thing that really prevents us from being at least as powerful as seniors, if not more powerful, is the fact that we're not registered to vote in the same numbers as seniors, and we don't vote as much as seniors vote. So I think it's critical for people with disabilities. It's a community effort that we really need to make sure that not only are we, am I registered to vote, but we need to make sure that our peers are registered to vote and understand that, we're all kind of doing it for each other, that it really is critical that we support each other, and one of the ways we can do that is by voting.